The chat around Xbox's next generation plans is only growing, especially with this latest title being thrown in the mix as a day one game for this new system. So that begs the question, is there any truth to that? Well, let's break that all down, up next. What's going on, guys? It's Kalo, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and welcome to the Level Up. Well, it looks like we are fully back on the Xbox next generation console watch, as many people just can't seem to stop chatting about this here device, whatever it may be. Now, over recent weeks, there's been a pretty steadfast debate if Xbox will even last up until their next generation console. The second part of that conversation being, are there going to be any games for it? And over the last few months, we've covered this idea that Xbox's next generation console could be coming a lot sooner than most people expect, which to some people, this may be good news. And when we look at this most recent generation being the Xbox Series X and S, along with the PS5, to my surprise, a lot of people haven't even bought into this console generation, with PlayStation recently reporting 50% of their user base is still on the PS4. Of course, with that stat in mind, there are a lot of different things at play here, and a lot of different events within gaming that does go into that. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we are here to talk about is what lies ahead for Xbox, especially going into these next few years. So it looks like, according to some of these recent rumors we covered, Xbox may be looking to release their next generation console sometime within 2026. But again, with that, huge grain of salt. But this is where known video game leaker Ghost of Hope chimed in on this platform, and what game could be coming our way to give Xbox a much needed boost in sales. Exclusive details for Modern Warfare 4 2026. No old generation support. Traditional UI like the older games, more traditional than Black Ops 6. Engine being overhauled to address Modern Warfare 2 problems like visual clutter, etc. Being developed on dev kits for the next Xbox. No Warzone 3 if Verdansk fails to retain current/returning players. Of course, coming out of all that, there's a lot to talk about there. The two main points being the future of Warzone and the future of Xbox, but let's get back to Warzone. Well, it does look like Season 3 will be very telling for what the future of Warzone looks like, and Activision has a lot riding on this. But it does align with recent problems Warzone has been facing, primarily being this declining player count, which does stem back to 2022. Now, much like why people aren't buying in for this generation of consoles, some people do blame this on games like Marvel Rivals popping off, some blame this on the cheating that has been going on within the game. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, there's a lot of blame going around. But it does look like Activision does need to convince players to come back to the game, all for an impending Warzone 3 style of game for the future console. Now, speaking of a future console, let's get to that other half of that story, which does have to do with Modern Warfare being in development for the next generation Xbox. By this rumor, it looks like the plan going forward is to pair this massive Call of Duty release with the release of Xbox's next console, which in my mind, that would be a home run hit. We've seen the numbers that Black Ops 6 is currently doing. Of course, it's not a direct comparison, but when we factor in this idea of what the next Call of Duty will be, especially when dropping last-gen support, we are going to be getting a fully optimized Call of Duty for next-generation consoles. And this is where I bring in that 50% number, like I talked about earlier. Talk about an incentive to move people off of last-generation devices. For Xbox to net that player base fully onto this next-generation Xbox would be huge, especially seeing how, in theory, that would be the best place to play this next Call of Duty. And you pair that with a day one release on Xbox Game Pass, it's almost the perfect storm. A little too perfect. But with all that being said, I'm going to pass it off to you guys. What do you think about all this? But that about does it here. I've been Kalo, I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and this has been the Level Up.